In this video, we're going to be making this DNA animation in After Effects. My name is Breton and I'm a motion designer. I both create motion graphics and I also create tools to make motion graphics a little bit faster. I worked for a number of tech companies and both in-house and in agencies. So let's go ahead and jump right in. My goal here is to make a series of tutorials that will give you a demo reel and a portfolio so that you can land your dream job or your dream client, starting with this first video here. If you do like this video, make sure to let me know so that I will create more of them. And if not, then I'll probably just make one. All right, so this animation, though it looks really high budget and really nice, is actually super simple to make. So we're gonna jump in, make a new composition. I'm gonna do a 1920 by 1080. You definitely don't have to do that, but that's what I'm going with. All right, on the top of our screen, I'm gonna click the rectangle tool twice, and double tapping that will, double tapping that while we have our composition selected in the timeline will make this rectangle background. I'm gonna set it to a gradient fill by clicking on the fill text here and switching to gradient. All right, I'm kind of doing this purple, dark blue, royal blue to red kind of thing, but you could do whatever you want. You could do pink and blue, you could do like a orange and yellow kind of thing, whatever you want. And once I create my gradient, if I have this toggle mask and shape path visibility, then I should be able to see these little handles which will let me control my gradient. So I like to pull them off of my canvas to give a nice gradient ramp. All right, so that's good enough for me. I'm gonna rename this layer background and lock it, and I'll shy it too. Okay, moving into the actual DNA. Let's start by getting a ellipse tool. So click and hold down on your shape here and choose the ellipse. We'll make a circle. You can hold shift to make it a perfectly even circle. And again, we're going to change the fill to just be white. So click on fill, choose the solid option, and we'll make it white. I don't want any strokes, so I'll turn my stroke down to 0. I'm going to use the align tool. So if you don't see align, you can go to window, select align from that menu. In the composition, I'm going to select my circle here and center it vertically and horizontally. I'll rename it circle, and I'll duplicate it too. So this one will be the right circle, and this one will be the left circle. All right, left circle, I'm going to start nudging it to the left, and I'm using my arrow keys and I'm holding down shift. So I counted 10 bumps to the left. Now I'll do the same thing to the right. I'll hold down shift, use my arrow key right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now I know they're exactly evenly spaced. So here we go. Next, we're gonna grab our pen tool, and I'm going to aim for roughly the center of my circle and click. Then I'll aim for the center of my next circle and hold shift and click. Okay, there we go. We can select everything and see if it lines up right. I actually need to add a stroke here. So I'll change my stroke to be 3. If you don't see a stroke option here, you might have to choose the add stroke, but you should just be able to type a number in 3 and then choose the color. All right, now I'm gonna select everything and I can see it's like slightly misaligned, so I'll just bump my line down a little bit, and that looks pretty good to me. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right, I'm gonna rename it line, and I'm also gonna color it something different. I'll do aqua, and actually I'll do cyan. Okay, so now we have the base of our circle, of our DNA strand. You don't have a lot of work to go, honestly, but I'm going to make these a little bit smaller because I'm looking at it now and I just want them to be a little bit smaller. So there we go. Okay, so we're gonna make all these layers 3D. So I can select all the layers except for my background and click the 3D toggle here. Make sure you don't select your background and turn that 3D too, because you'll run into some issues. If you don't see this 3D box, you may have to toggle view modes here. So just click on this and you should see the 3D icon. Okay, so now that everything's 3D, if I go to my line and hit R on my keyboard, I can start rotating my line in 3D space. So that's great. But before I do that, I want to parent my two circles to my line. And now you can see when I rotate it, we're getting a little bit closer. Okay, let's go ahead and before we make the final 3D effects, let's make our entire strand first. So select all three of these layers and we're going to duplicate them. So you can hit Command or Control and then the letter D on your keyboard and it will duplicate them. You can drag those to the top and we want a lot of duplicates, so I'm going to make 10 or more. So here's 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you want a shortcut to move these guys to the top, you can hold Command Shift and use the right bracket key on your keyboard. And the right bracket key will move them to the top, the left will move them to the bottom. So that's a shortcut for just dragging these up. Okay, looks like I'm at 10 now. Excellent. All right, now since I colored my line layer, I can select all of them. So click on this little colored box here and say select label group. And since they're all cyan, this will select all the cyan layers. And then I can move all of those to the top. So this is great because the line is what controls everything. Okay, so your next step will be to parent every single line layer to the line underneath of it. And I'll show you why in a second. Let's go ahead and do that now. So 9 is going to be parented to 10 is going to be parented to 9, 9 to 8, 8 to 7, etc. All right, now we can select them all, and on your keyboard, hit P. That will reveal the position keyframe. You could also toggle down, go to transform, and there's position. But the shortcut is just to hit P. All right, now we can select all of our layers, make sure they're all selected, and we're gonna move the second value here, and that's the Y value. So as you can see, all these are being distributed evenly, and that's because we parented each of them. So this is what it would look like if I just moved one of those layers, and here's what it would look like if I moved another. But what if I move them all by the exact same amount by selecting them? Then we get the perfectly distributed line. Okay, now I can select my main line, that's line 1, because that's what everything is parented to. So I can move that down. And as you can see, all of our DNA moves with it. So that's perfect. Okay, now hit the letter R on your keyboard, and it's going to pull up all of the rotation keyframes. Again, that's a shortcut, so if you want to do it the long way, you can toggle down your layer, toggle down transform, and here's all the rotation options. So with the DNA, we're going to want to rotate it on the Y axis. So we're going to go ahead and you could keyframe, you could use keyframes like this, and then, you know, move the keyframe a little bit so we have a rotation. But I'm going to go ahead and write a very easy, quick expression by holding Alt and Option. An expression is a very short line of code that will do animations for you. This one's really easy. All we have to do is type value plus time, the times symbol, and 50. So what this is saying is the current value of rotation is 0, so 0 plus time times 50. So time is just a special keyword of expressions, and the more time that passes, the higher this value goes up. So we could times it by 5 and it would move very slowly, or we could times it by 50 and it will move a little faster. But this is what it looks like with value plus time times 50. So I think that looks pretty good. But as you'll notice, all these DNA strands are all like uniform, so they need to be twisted a little bit. So let's go ahead and grab all of our lines once again and hit R on your keyboard. And now we can move the Y rotation when everything is selected. Make sure all your lines are selected. And then we get this twist by just moving all these keyframes at once. Okay, so I'll set mine to like -30. All right, now you're also gonna notice that right now it's super flat looking, like this little DNA piece is squashed. So to solve that, we are going to make a camera. So in your menu bar, click on Layer, New, Camera. I'm gonna go ahead and toggle my depth of field on. I'm probably gonna have to tweak some of these settings, but you're welcome to copy mine if you want. It looks like my zoom is at 360. My focus is also at 360. My aperture is at 960. But we're just gonna tweak these anyways. Okay, so as you can see with my depth of field, we added some cool blurriness. That's awesome. This is already starting to look decent. But to unsquash our DNA circles, what we have to do is select all of our circle layers, and you can right click. You can go to Transform, Auto Orient. So Auto Orient it helps you adjust rotation of an object based off of things like where the object is moving. If it's moving to the right, it'll turn right with it. But pretty much what you need to do here is orient towards the camera, and what that will do is it will point all these layers towards your camera. So if you were to take a view from the top, you can see that this little triangle represents, here's our camera, this little box, and then there's our camera's view. And it's looking at all of our circles. So now all of our circles are looking at the camera because we auto orient towards camera. So very cool, but you're gonna notice that because they all look towards the camera and the camera's so close, you kind of get this warped circle effect. Like, it's mostly seen in these bottom ones. They're kind of pivoted at a strange angle. So that's fine if that's the style you're going for, but to solve this, all we need to do is pull the camera farther back, and then they will not look as warped. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll hit select my camera and hit P, and this third value here, I'm just going to start sliding it back, and I'm doing this while holding Shift. So I don't know, maybe -3000, something like that. I may change that later. And now obviously we're way too far away, so we need to zoom back in. So the camera's going to be far away, but it's going to be zooming in, and this will change how the auto-oriented circles look. If you don't understand the technicalities of this, don't worry, just you can follow the steps and it'll look good. So toggle down your camera options and you'll notice there's a zoom. And now we can zoom right back into those circles. So I don't know what my zoom should be, maybe 3000 or something. We're gonna find out. It's really, really blurry, so we need to fix that. I think there's like a focus distance somewhere here, so let me scroll around and look for that. Okay, perfect. So here's my focus distance. So now you can see, right now, this is like, right now it's focusing on something way too close. And we want to look farther into the distance, so let's set this to, looked like 3000 was a good number. All right, so let's take a look. So this is looking pretty good right now. I'm pretty excited about this. One critique is the only point where everything's actually focused and clear is when this DNA is lined up perfectly horizontal. And I kind of actually want this to focus on the front part of the DNA strands instead of the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak the focus distance just a little bit and focus it a little bit closer. So it looks like we're going for like, I don't know, 2,800 or something like that on the focus distance. And now the DNAs that are really close to the camera are very clear, and then the DNAs in the background are very blurry, and I think it's a really cool effect. You can also change, like you can make this less blurry by changing your aperture if you wanted to. If I turn it down to 0, there's no blurriness. So you can choose how blurry you want it. Honestly, I really like this super blurry effect because it makes it feel very micro. So I'm gonna go with that. And my aperture is at 2700. 2700. Also, if you wanted this to look a little bit fancier, you could change your iris shape. And right now, this is doing a blur effect that's easy on the rendering engine. And I think it looks pretty good. But if you wanted to get fancy, you can make it a more complicated shape. And that will make your blur look a little bit more, I don't know, heavier resolution, better resolution. But will also slow your computer down. And I'm pretty happy with either the fast rectangle or the triangle. Those will be the fastest to render. I guess I'll do the triangle, make it a little bit more blurry, like 3000 for the triangle. Cool. Well, I'm really excited about how this looks. I think the only thing really left here is to animate this line. So I'll hit P on my keyboard, drop a keyframe, and move to the end of my timeline. Maybe I'll just move 15 seconds. And I'll just move this DNA down. And now we have this 15-second long clip. And if you're making a demo reel, you're only going to use, between 1 to 3 seconds of this anyways. So this could be a quick clip in your demo reel. And, a really good 15 examples, that's going to be enough to get you something to send to a client or something to send into a job. So here is one of your potential 15 demo reel animations. Again, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please let me know because I really will listen to your feedback and I'll make more of them. But if not, this maybe is the last of our tutorials. I also want to give a shout out to one of the tools I commonly use, which I also created, called KeyFast, which is right here. And KeyFast is super handy. It does a lot of really cool and easy animations for you. It'll do things like slide and ease things, and it will scale things up and scale them down and do all sorts of cool animation things that it'll just save you a bunch of time pretty much. So if you want to check out KeyFast, you can go to AE Scripts and search for KeyFast there. There's a bunch of tutorial videos. as well as reviews and things like that. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys like it, and I hope that this DNA strand gets you one step closer to that awesome motion design job that you're looking for, or to the dream client that you're looking for. Thanks.